What's up, guys? Today I'm going to do a review on the Powertec Workbench Multipress. Right now, Powertec is running a Black Friday sale, and you can pick one of these up for 20% off. I paid $760 for delivery to the Midwest, and it arrived in good condition. And it assembled in a reasonable amount of time. I'd say a lot of the issues that I read about were overblown as far as the difficulty of assembly. You'll find pretty quickly that a lot of the instructions are pre-assembled, so when you see that huge blow-up diagram, just understand that the bench itself is actually pre-assembled, and really you're only putting together about 5 or 6 large pieces. Throughout this video, I'm going to compare this to hammer strength because in my opinion, this machine more closely represents a hammer strength plate loaded type machine than any other type machine that I have used in a commercial gym. I'm going to start with the construction of this machine. The first thing I'd like to point out is they come with the small 1-inch diameter pins for your plates. They also come with these collars that look quite nice. They're made out of a chrome, maybe even a stainless steel. I'm not entirely sure. They look very nice. They're very weighty. Unfortunately, I don't really see the need for these on this machine, so I just leave them here. But you could use them on a standard barbell. The plate holders are good for helping weigh down the machine if you don't want to anchor the machine to the floor. I don't use any plates on mine, and it's plenty stable enough. And as you can see here, I don't actually have my machine anchored to the floor, and it is quite sturdy and stable as it is. The machine itself is fairly free of shakes and wobbles when you're using it. The arms have a tiny bit of play, but it's nothing that you'll really notice while you're using the machine. And a lot of the play in this machine can be attributed to the fact that there's so much adjustability and multi-functionality packed into one machine. A hammer strength machine at your commercial gym usually only has to do 1, maybe 2 functions, and so they don't have a lot of adjustment, and it can be welded together and very solid. This machine, I would say, does about 8 or 9 exercises very good, and as a result of that, there is some sacrifice in the stability of the machine, but again, it's nothing that you would even consider unless I brought it up to you. It's just something that's there, and I'm bringing it up because I want this to be a fair review. I'm not paid by Powertec, but I've noticed that in all my research on home gym equipment, Powertec really only has 1 or 2 people on YouTube or Facebook or anywhere else that does reviews of this piece of equipment. So real quick, I'm going to run through some of these functions over here. The first thing I'd like to point out is they do have a pin holder welded on the back of this upright. This is going to hold your pin that's going to lock your arms together, and whenever you go to use this, all you have to do is push that through, and now both of your arms move as one. For me, most of the time, I actually prefer unilateral movement, but sometimes I do use that, and so your machine has independently moving arms. The other thing that you'll notice here is there's a lot of adjustment for the arms, for the stops. So the first thing I did is I put numbers on all these holes, and then what I did is I came up here and I recorded the settings for every exercise. The reason I did this is because there's so much adjustability on this machine that when I go to set up, I just want to get in and go. I don't want to sit here and try to play with this machine and cool down during my workout messing around. So it's not something you have to do, but It only took me about 1 hour to label this machine with all these number stickers and try out the machine and come up with this and just record it, and now I'm good. So whenever I go to work out, I can just look at this and reference this and set the machine up and go. And again, there's numbers there, and you'll see down here we have numbers down here. The seat will slide back and forth on this rail. There's actually quite a bit of movement here, so you should get very comfortable no matter what your arm length is, your leg length, anything. How your body is built is not going to be a limiting factor on this machine. I can tell you right now, there is so much adjustment. You can adjust the tilt on this seat here. There's 4 different angles. This slides back and forth. Like this here is probably 14 to 16 inches. And the incline, I'm going to show you the incline here in a minute. This can go into a slight decline. I'm not sure what the angle is. Maybe 15 degrees, but it's not much. It does flat, and then it can do, I believe, 8 or 9 different adjustments going up. So you can hit every angle that your heart desires. So real quick, I'm going to demonstrate all of the uses for this machine and try to talk about them and explain any sort of deficiencies, as well as compare them to a hammer strength piece of equipment. The first is going to be your flat bench. I have this machine set up for my body type, and I can tell you right now that the first thing you're going to notice is it feels very good on the strength curve. However, I wish the handles would be slightly more inward. A common thing that I've seen is that people wish the handles were in just a little bit more. Again, it's not terrible. It's just something to be aware of, and it actually works better for other exercises that the handles are at this distance apart. So this is the flat bench. Just get locked in here. Get a good squeeze. It feels great. The action is smooth. And I'd say it compares as pretty good compared to a hammer strength. Now I'm going to demonstrate to you the incline press. Personally, this is one of my favorites. I believe the action on it is very good compared to hammer strength. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that now. Get myself locked in. The handle's here. You have to start off the bottom of the movement just like a hammer strength, and it just feels really good. Honestly, it's stable. I can do each arm individually. And it's one of my favorites. It feels good. I'm going to go ahead and rate this a 9 out of 10 compared to a hammer strength incline press. Lastly, I'm going to demonstrate the shoulder press. A lot of reviews were saying that the action in this direction feels weird, and that it feels better to turn around and face against the machine for a better shoulder movement. However, while I do agree with that, I will say that you can rectify this by simply setting it to a very high incline instead of straight up and down. I'll go ahead and show you now what I'm talking about. Again, this feels very good. For this specific exercise, I would say the handle placement is actually very good. I like having it at this width overhead. I get a very good squeeze in my delts, and it's very smooth. It's not uncomfortable. As well as the fact that with this high incline, I can push my back into the bench and stay secure instead of being turned around and facing into the machine and having to stabilize and press away from me. Something to note with this position is that because the arm is almost parallel to the ground, the hardest part of the movement is right here at the beginning. So you can't load extremely heavy because you have to unrack it on this machine. There's really no way around that because gravity, you can't change that. So at the bottom of the movement, it's heaviest. It's still fairly consistent, but you will notice at the very top of the movement, you'll be able to pick up a small amount of speed as you start to lock out, and that's just the way this machine works. There's no way around it. However, I will say that this feels very good, and I'm happy to add this to my shoulder workouts. I'm going to go ahead and show you here what I'm talking about with the high incline. You'll notice that as I stand to the side of the machine, this doesn't quite look like a vertical press, but I'm telling you right now that if you try it in this position, it's going to entirely hit your delts. Watch carefully as I lift this handle. You can see that the handle is actually moving in the same plane as the seat, which is ultimately what we want. With this, we put a little bit of tilt in it, and then the hinge kind of makes up the rest of it as far as the change of the angle. And so what you're left with is what feels like a perfectly 90-degree up and down movement relative to your torso. It feels very good, but if you don't like it, you can set the seat back up all the way and then face into the machine and do the same thing, pressing away from you. The last thing I want to show you is this close grip bar that they give you. I have it hung up here in my ceiling. Now this looks kind of gimmicky when you're on the website, but this actually has a pretty sturdy feeling to it. It has a knurling. It's kind of like cheap Amazon quality knurling, but there is a knurling there, which is really nice. Now this is just a close grip bar. I'm sure there's a million uses that you can engineer up for this, and I'm going to tell you right now, this actually feels very good. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. All you got to do is lay down in position like so, and then one side has a welded on peg, and you just slide that into the end of your handle. The other end has that same peg on a spring pole right here, and then you just pull that out, slide it down into position, let it go, you're locked in, you're ready to go. And then this can swivel up like so, or on some exercises you can have it underneath and it's resting against the handles, and you can decide based on the exercise which option you prefer. So then you would do your close grip work like this. And you can use this on any incline or decline or whatever. And so it just gives you all the more options to use this machine to benefit yourself in your home gym. So again, it's just kind of gimmicky at first, and you might just set it to the side, but do try it out. Like, it's definitely very useful. It gives you an extra dimension to attack your arms and your chest. And I've seen people even use it for curls or shrugs. That stuff I'm not so sure about. I haven't tried that yet because the handles themselves work great for shrugs. Curls, I just use a barbell or dumbbells, but I'm sure there's some way you can engineer up a curl on this machine. I just don't really care to do it. My final thoughts on this machine are that this is money well spent. At $760, I can tell you right now, you could not get more equipment for your dollar. Even at the standard price that it's at right now of $8.99, this is a lot of equipment. There's a lot of functionality packed in this machine. I haven't even gotten into the chest supported rows that you can do. You could do kneeling rows. You just set the handles lower. You can pull these pins all the way out, and then these handles here can actually go all the way down to the floor, and then you can do rowing type movements off the floor. You could do some type of deadlift variant or RDLs. There's just so much functionality packed into this machine that it's all good or very good. there's nothing that's perfect, unfortunately, but I feel like a lot of that is just the sacrifice you have to make on a machine with so many adjustments. There's going to be some stability issues. There's going to be some kind of slight wobble or play in something. You just can't engineer out of that because this machine is effectively doing 8 or 9 hammer strength machine jobs, and it's all packed into one. I mean, the floor space that it uses is okay. This right here is a 9-foot by 12-foot room, and so yes, it uses a lot of this floor, but at the same time, it's just it's worth it, really. I mean, we're in the home gym life. You probably don't have lots of room to store a bunch of equipment. You can't afford to have 3 or 4 different chest machines, a back machine, a rowing machine. Like, you just can't have all that stuff in a standard house unless it's really, really big. So, or you go outside. I want my stuff in the basement because I can work out year round, and I like playing loud music, and it's just nice having that privacy inside your house, you know? So this machine, it's a grand slam. I cannot rate this high enough. I'm sure it's way better than the Titan. I know Titan has their own chest press machine. I looked into that for a while. It is cheaper. It also does not have nearly as much functionality. This here has 2-inch weight horns, and they're stainless steel. You know, all the welds on this, I mean, look at this. These welds are not that bad. I mean, I know everybody likes to fawn over welds on these pieces of equipment. This looks pretty good. I mean, really. So, it's a solid piece. It's a lifetime investment. If you want my final vote on this, I say go for it. If you can get it now and get it to your house for $750, $770, $780, then I say buy it. Do it on credit if you have to. If you gotta go standard price, it's still a good deal. $900. This is a lifetime piece. You're not gonna trade out of this. I promise you that. You will not trade out of this. There is no upgrading unless you're trying to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. You move into a bigger house, whatever it may be. So I say go for it. It's a great piece to have in your home gym. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments if you have any questions about this machine, maybe setting it up. Personally, I'm an electrician. I work in the trades. Working with tools and figuring stuff out is just something that I'm good at, you know, just naturally. So for me, the assembly was not really a head scratcher, but I know that a lot of people post up reviews on eBay or Powertec website or YouTube, and they say that, oh, the assembly had all kinds of problems or the instructions were not good enough. My opinion, yeah, it could have been done a little bit better. I had no problem doing it. I had no mistakes in the assembly, and it was done and ready to be used within an hour. So just go ahead and let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer when I can. And enjoy your lifts.